feel like every college town in the last, I would say, 10 years, 15 years has really become a great real estate investment opportunity for a lot of investors because it's difficult to buy anything in New York City, even Philadelphia these days. Things are expensive.
So welcome to another episode of the In Your Home podcast. How you doing?
Market. Tony B is happy to.
Would have to be Play Prime.
So how many games do you
Grew up in Monmouth County, Central Jersey, my whole life.
Now in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis.
Well, I love being an artist, man, because I want to make stories. And
I'm based here in Philly for about 30 plus years now.
The commercial market is in good shape.
No, I need to be in control of everything. I'm a control freak.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the In Your Home podcast. We have a special guest today, and I'm going to let him introduce himself right now.
Good morning, Brett. Thanks for having me on. My name is Michael Kuldiner. I am a Bucks County native. Primarily, I work in Bucks County area, sometimes in Philly, sometimes in Montgomery County. My primary role is I am a litigation attorney practicing in real estate, civil litigation, and family law.
Got it. And so are you originally from Bucks County?
Yeah, I grew up in Northeast Philly. Well, not Bucks County.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I went to 19 different schools when I was a kid, from elementary school to high school. So my parents moved around a lot, moved from Northeast Philly to Jersey, then back to Philly, then back to Jersey, and so on. So I finished off my high school years in Central Jersey, in Warren, New Jersey.
Okay.
High school, the Warriors.
Okay. Did you play any sports?
I tried. I'm not, the typical athlete. That wasn't my forte. I tried.
Okay. So then once you were done in high school, you went to college in what area?
I went to Franklin Marshall College. It's in Lancaster, PA. It's a small liberal arts school. Met with my counselor one year in high school, and he said, well, you want to be a lawyer one day. This is a pretty good pre-law school. I said, never heard of it, but I'll apply. I got in, and I went there. And I had a pretty good experience, met a lot of friends for life there. And it was a nice 4-year experience, I would say. I definitely
Did you like
grow a lot?
Yeah.
And it's not that schooling that you go to school for 2-3 hours a day. You study for 2-3 hours a day, and then you have 10 hours to do anything you want to do. And when you're 18 years old, what do? You grow a lot, you mature a lot, and you learn what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. Definitely an experience.
Yeah. What was it like living in Lancaster?
There wasn't much to do. That's why I joined the fraternity. Then there was a lot to do.
Okay. So I'm getting all of a sudden Lancaster has become super hot for real estate and people are moving out there. And I have someone on my team who's been going out there I don't know why he's going out there every weekend, but he's going out there every weekend showing these houses to people. And the thing out there is nobody elects an inspection when they make an offer. Basically, if you elect an inspection, you're going to lose because nobody else does. So it's become a challenge for him.
I feel like every college town in the last, I would say, 10 years, 15 years has really become a great real estate investment opportunity for a lot of investors because it's difficult to buy anything in New York City, even Philadelphia these days. Things are expensive. And where else do you go out? Look at the college towns. Look at the rents there. There's a lot of opportunities there. Also, when I went to school a few years ago, tuition was about $35,000 a year. We're talking about 2001 when I graduated. Now tuition's almost $90,000 for some of these schools. And it's not because the schools are expensive. It's because the cost of living is expensive. Room and board is probably $30,000 to $40,000 just itself.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, things go up. And that's why I think real estate's probably the best investment. I'm a little biased. I'm more of a real estate guy than a stock guy. Every time I try to dabble in stock, I always lost money. So I just stopped doing that. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
And even recently, I think last week, the stocks went down 25%. Everybody's like, you should put all your money in stock. I'm like, I just don't want to sit there and watch my money go up and down all day long and be glued to the monitor. I'd rather invest in real estate and once a month get a rental check.
Right. So how long have you been investing in real estate?
I would say 2003 was my first investment. It was on Torresdale Avenue in Philly.
Okay.
East, I would call it. I got a lead. It was a row house for 60,000, and I bought it for 60,000. I flipped it 3 days later for 90,000, and I thought to myself, this can't be real. I gotta be doing a lot of this. And then I would say between 2003 and 2008, before the crash, I did a lot of that. I spent a lot of time doing real estate investments and flipping. And then the crash happened. The market was pretty soft for a while. I kind of backed off, but then I started doing that again in 2014.
Okay. So the one,
Philly was my thing for a while.
yeah.
2014, I really started investing heavily into Bucks County.
Okay. So are you buying properties that need a lot of work, or they're like pretty much
mostly, where you get the best bang for your buck is distressed properties that nobody else wants. I'll walk into a property that it looks like somebody died in there. It smells terrible, hoarder's haven, and I don't really care. I have people that will go in there over a weekend and get 7 dumpsters in there, clean it out, rip the walls down, and to bare bones, and we'll start construction. As soon as we get permits, put a drywall, and so on. So I'm not worried about that.
Got it. Do you have, as a lawyer, do you get a lot of people that are buying or selling houses that come to you directly to do law stuff, or?
So I would say during the pandemic and after that pandemic, I saw a huge increase in people selling homes by owner, not using real estate agents. And when they sell homes by owner, they don't really know what to do. They don't know how to draft a contract. They don't know which title company to use. They don't know what inspections they should do. They're clueless. Typically, the seller reaches out to us and say, Mike, I found a buyer. It's my next door neighbor's niece. She wants to buy a house. It's a win-win situation. We negotiate our price. We don't have to pay 5% to a real estate agent. Can you handle it? I said, of course we can. We drop a contract. We usually use the regular zip forms, PAR agreements, certain contingencies in there. We handle all the paperwork on both sides. And go to closing. We work with their lender as well.
Typically, like, if you do that for somebody, what's the cost that like goes onto them versus what they use?
The cost is about $2,000 to represent the seller with that transaction. There's no cost to the buyer. The buyer just pays for the title insurance.
Okay.
Premium. We have an in-house title company, so it's really easy. I'm a title agent, so it's really easy to handle the transaction from A to Z.
Okay. What's your favorite part of the transaction? What is it? Real estate, title, or law?
It's a job. I don't look at, my favorite part. My favorite part in what I do is, collect keys. I like to collect, every time I buy a property, whether it's at the sheriff's sale or, on MLS, or a realtor that I know, or off market, I'll just hang that key up in the key box. Another one,
Are all your properties flips? Yeah, I'm sorry, God.
I would say most of my properties are not flips.
Okay.
And here's why. I learned this probably 10 years into real estate investing. You always have a partner, the silent partner. His name is Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam likes to take a big chunk of every one of your flips. And I realized, why am I flipping properties and paying Uncle Sam a third or 20%, whatever it is, from each flip, when I could just keep it and go to the bank and borrow against my property at 6%, 5%, 7%, whatever the rate is, and have the property grow over time. I have flipped properties that I ended up buying the same property next door for almost double 7 years later. If I just kept that property and kept all the profit in there, and if I needed the cash out and buy more, that would make a lot of sense. I'm sure you've heard of the Burr method. Buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. Sounds simple, right? It's extremely simple, but most people don't do it.
All right.
Most people are afraid, and that the fear drives people away from doing a lot of things.
How about your tenants? Have they been good tenants? Any bad ones?
Believe it or not, one of the reasons I went to Bucks County to invest, because I believe it's a different kind of clientele in Bucks County. There's a less turnover, less evictions. So I think, if you treat your tenants well, they'll treat your properties well as well. So look, it's a numbers game. You're always going to have, out of every 100 tenants, maybe 2 or 3 ones that are, either behind their rent or just don't want to cooperate. I'll tell you one thing: when they move into your property, they want to cooperate pretty well. They want to be your best friend. They're going to promise you the world. But that's just a numbers game. It's part of business.
Yep. So what do you like about living in Bucks County?
What do I like about living in Bucks County? I mean, this is where my business is. This is what I do here. It's not the country as you think. It's not like Quakertown or Sellersville or Pipersville. I live in Central Bucks. I mean, everything's around. Good schools, things to do on the weekends, great restaurants. I'm like 15 minutes from New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Is there any? Yeah, New Hope's nice. Is there anything you like don't like about it?
the weather. I feel like I'm getting older. The weather is really getting to me. They always say on those memes, there's 37 seasons in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 5 seasons this week. Yesterday it was like 70. Today is 50.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always challenging.
The weather never bothered me until this year. For some reason, it hit this year, and I struggled through the winter. And
I don't think it was a bad winter. I feel like 4 or 5 years ago, we got a pretty bad one when I had 7 properties and the pipes froze. And that was bad.
Yeah, I don't even think. Yeah, I think it wasn't even the winter. It was just for some reason it just like finally got to me. We're like, I'm sick of this cold stuff, but I never had a problem with it.
My plan, I want to move to Florida in a few years. I have a kid in high school, probably 2 more years in high school, and that's it. And slowly I got to move down there. I can't. This is too cold for me.
What part of Florida?
I'm not sure. We're kind of exploring now. I'm thinking, maybe South Florida, Sunny Isles, maybe Brickell area, just to start slow. I know my friends that moved down to Florida have moved around like 4 times already between different places. Mm-hmm. They moved down during the pandemic, and they were in North Miami, then Sunny Isles. Now they're going to by Coral Gables. So I guess they're exploring as well.
Yeah. So I remember one day my daughter out of nowhere. So I lived in most of my life in Montgomery County, and she said to me one day, I think if she was in high school, and she was like, "Why do we live? Why did you stop here? Why do you live here?" And I had to like try to explain. And she's like, "I'm getting out of here once I'm out of high school." So she went to college in Florida, and I don't know. I think she's gonna come back, or at least somewhere north. But she couldn't wait to get to Florida.
So believe it or not, there's a huge trend of a lot of people, a lot of kids that just recently graduated in the last 4 or 5 years are going to schools in Florida.
Yeah.
I know a few of my cousins' kids, maybe 4 or 5 of them, they're in Florida now, and they all decided to go to Florida. Different schools, but all Florida schools.
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't know. I go down there for like a week and I love it, but after like a week, I'm like, get me out of this heat. I don't know.
And I could be there forever.
Yeah.
Getting up in the morning, sunshine, beautiful weather, palm trees. You have a smile on your face. It just doesn't go away. It doesn't get away. It's like your happy place. And if I can work remotely the rest of my life, I do it from there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Would you be able to do your job remotely from anywhere?
I would say not everything that I do, not law practice. I would have to, meet with clients, go to court. But I would say my investments, I can do a lot of it remotely. I have a good team here.
Did you ever invest outside of Pennsylvania?
Right. As a lender, so I'm a hard money lender as well. So as a lender, I've invested in properties in Texas, in terms of I've given loans to investors in Texas, in Georgia, and in Washington, D.C. And all 3 times I got burned. I had to go down there, take the property back, trying to find a local real estate agent to resell it. And it was just a nightmare. I have so many stories about being an owner of a bed and breakfast in Jasper, Georgia. It's outside of Atlanta. It's kind of like their Poconos area. And I drove into town. There's like 5 people there. One of those old Western towns you pull in, and where's everybody? There's a bank across the street. It's closed. There's a CVS. It's not open yet. And there's a bed and breakfast with like 7 units in it. Great. Yeah, I mean, it's extremely difficult to invest. Unless you're like a super passive investor, and you know somebody's buying like one of those syndicated multi-unit properties and you're 2% owner, that you don't really care about losing that money.
Mm-hmm.
It's you really got to know your market. And I feel like the real estate market's very local.
Yeah. Are all your properties like individual properties, or are they like buildings? Or
I would say it's a mix. I have a few multi-units and I have a lot of individual properties.
Still some in Philly, or they're all Bucks County?
No, all Bucks County.
All right. So hard money lender, how do people find you for that?
I don't really market myself. I work with a few investors. I provide them capital to build, refinance, acquire more, build and refinance. So I have a few good investors that I work with, and I'm not trying to get too big.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable where I am.
And who does all the, do you have like a contracting company that does all your jobs, or?
So I have a real estate management company. I'm a real estate broker. United Properties Realty, and we have a management company that manages exclusively my properties, and they also renovate and rehab my properties as well. So I got 7 to 10 guys usually on the team, and they're all around the county doing work.
Nice. What are your plans for the future as far as business? Is it just keep doing what you're doing, or?
I mean, that's always challenging. At what point do you stop? When is enough? Everybody says they enjoy the process more. It's about the process than the end results. And I kind of agree with that, because I don't think anybody has a true idea what they're looking for, what their goals are, especially entrepreneurs and somebody who does pretty well for themselves. I follow Gary Vee a lot. Gary Vaynerchuk, he's pretty motivational, and he's got a lot of interesting insights. And I follow a lot of podcasts, like the Bearded Brandon podcast. He was the founder of Bigger Pockets. I'm not sure if you
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are about the process. They wake up every morning, they do their thing, and they're not looking at their bank accounts every day. They're not looking at, hey, I need to be at a certain amount. They like to develop and create the process. They like to create something, build something. But they're not looking for, I want to have 10 properties. I want to have 100 properties. They're looking to, I'm not really sure what I want to do, but I like what I'm doing now, and we'll see where it takes us. As long as I'm doing it, as long as I'm getting up in the morning.
So you're happy?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an innovative kind of guy. I'm not going to sit here and create something like a hydrogen powered car or a battery. That's not what I do. I'm more of like a building blocks kind of guy. You build the compound effects and hopefully works out. Hopefully it goes the same way as it's been going. And that's it. Just don't leverage too much. A lot of people, they leverage way too much. Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger says, it's one of the 3 things that will kill you. Leverage is one of them.
As a lawyer, what, like your clients, what would you say the most typical type of case you get? Is it real estate, or do you do other stuff?
I mean, our firm, I would say, does 70% of matrimonial work, like divorces, custody, and child support and spousal support issues. I'm slowly kind of phasing out of that and focusing more on managing a law firm. I still handle a lot of civil litigation cases involving real estate issues, business disputes, business divorces, things like that. There's no most, we get calls about, like this morning, somebody wanted to sue the Bucks County Water Authority. And it's not something I would get involved in. But we do a lot of foreclosures for hard money lenders. We have a huge backlog of foreclosures from investors who gave money to this company in Philly. I'm not going to say which one it is, but I would say 300 or 400 properties. They borrowed money from investors from all over the country and found straw buyers, and these straw buyers disappeared, and these investors were sitting on these loans, didn't know what to do. And this asset management company reached out to us and said, look, can you do foreclosures for all these properties? I said, sure. Well, when was the last time any of these borrowers paid your clients money? Like, been years. I'm like, what have you been doing? Sitting on these loans and properties who have been rented out. Somebody's collecting rent on them, and they don't have an answer. So still getting these files in, we're filing foreclosures, trying to take possessions of these properties back. And it's a process. And the Philadelphia process it's a nightmare. These deeds, we're waiting after the foreclosure process, probably 7 to 8 months just for the deeds to get recorded. It's a mess. I mean, Philly's great for business, but at the same time, foreclosure processes are terrible.
I just had, I was the listing agent for a house. It was a husband and wife. I think they were either, I forget if they were divorced or they were like getting divorced, and they did not like each other. She moved out and left him in the house, and I think he just stopped paying. And there was like a sheriff's sale on a certain date, and we got the house under contract to a cash buyer. Turns out he took some extra loans while he was living there that she didn't know about, so it wasn't enough money to cover it. And then we put it back on the market. I found another buyer who paid way more, enough to cover everything. And the bank the lawyer that was handling the bank said, okay, no problem, send us this. And then like we were 2 weeks away from the closing, and the bank said they don't want to wait anymore and put it up for sheriff's sale. And no one bought it at the sheriff's sale, but something like that. It was
it's just strange, and we see that a lot. The banks, they're not investors like you and I. They don't see the best way to unload this property with a haircut. Some of these properties at the banks, the upset price at the sheriff's sale is so high, no investor would buy it. So the bank takes it back and then probably gets flipped to several different asset management companies
Mhm.
over a course of 6 months, possibly maybe a year. And you see this property just sitting there. And next thing you know, an REO real estate company, like, I don't know, who's still around, Mary Jo Potts, she does a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
They'll list it for half the price that the bank got it for 2 years before that. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
These big institutional banks, they're not being very efficient. And if you ever go to auction.com, maybe there's a few listings there. Those properties get auctioned off for 2 years straight. They have this unreasonable reserve and nothing ever sells there. And 2 years later, once the market goes up and they still have the reserve from 2 years before, then maybe somebody will finally buy it.
Yeah.
The banks, I don't think they have their formula correct, and they never did.
Mhm.
Money, they don't really care.
All right. Do you ever do? Yeah. Do you ever do? Because I get this a lot. People are looking to buy a property in Philadelphia and then like change the zoning from either single family to multifamily, and
It's one thing I don't do. Like when I hung a shingle, I did everything. I did a lot of immigration work. I did traffic tickets. Kind of dabble into a lot of different things until you really focus on number one, what you like to do, and number two, what keeps the lights on. So zoning was never my forte. I mean, there's a few good zoning lawyers in Philly. That's all they do, and it's not something I dabble in.
yeah, is the city a nightmare to work with on that too?
I haven't really worked in the city for a long time. Probably 17, 18 years was the last time I did a zoning hearing.
Okay.
I don't even do it in Bucks County. I just,
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel when just refer the case out to somebody else who knows how to do it?
All right. Yeah. And what's your craziest story that had to do with a real estate transaction?
Too many. I always tell myself, write them down, and
Make a book someday.
I never do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember things, but just sporadically.
And what was like the biggest challenge you've ever had in one of the properties you bought?
Oh, during the pandemic, for sure. This is a crazy story. I bought a lot of stuff at the sheriff's sale. So I went to a Bucks County sheriff's sale, probably early 2020.
Okay.
Mid 2020. It was a nice size property in Jameson, and I was the only bidder. And maybe everybody else knew that this is a problematic property. It was occupied, and I usually don't shy away from properties that are occupied. Most people do.
Mm-hmm.
Attorney, I know the process, the ejectment process. It's not an eviction process. A lot of people think, oh, you can evict this guy. Well, no, he doesn't have a lease with you. It's called an ejectment.
Okay.
You own the property. He's got no interest in it, no legal interest. He's got no right to be there. It's an ejectment process. Ejectment process is not a district court or small claims court. You got to go through court of common pleas.
Yeah.
You got to go through the main court process. You got to file a complaint. They have 20 days to respond. Then they got to file an answer and so on. So it was during the pandemic, and usually we try to work with people that former owners that live there. Their families. We try not to disrupt their life. Try to make a deal. Usually, hey, let's make a deal. Pay the rent as long as it covers my expenses based on what I put into it, and we'll give you as much time as possible either to live there, or you can move out whenever you want.
Mm-hmm.
I treat it as an investment, even though I may have all this equity in there. I'd rather they just stay there and continue to pay my mortgage. I'll leave it there for now. So I bought this property. I reached out to this individual. He happened to be a professor at Penn State, and the classes that he taught were about games and strategy. So I guess some sort of negotiation tactics in business. So I finally get a hold of him. He comes to my office and we meet face to face. Super nice guy, and he tells me what he does for a living. He's a professor, and he knows how to play games, and he knows strategy, and he basically tells me to my face that he's not going to make it easy for me. So I said, look, let's think about this. We'll work something out. And, we kind of go back and forth. And he really gives me no indication that he's interested in any of my offers, either a cash for keys, we'll give you some time to move out, or a lease. He's not interested in it. He said, basically, do what you got to do. So, of course, it's the pandemic. Courthouses, we can file complaints, but evictions aren't happening. So I would say a good 1.5 2 years go by. Nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do anything. They weren't recording deeds. They were not recording deeds after the sheriff's sale for a long time. And we finally got the deed. We started the ejection process, maybe 2 years later. Keep in mind what happened to the real estate market between 2020 and 2022.
It blew up.
It went up like 35%.
Yeah.
So during this whole time, this property that I bought. I'll just give you some numbers. Let's say 420,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think I sold it for 700,000 all the way in the end after I got him out, after I rehabbed the property and so on. So there was a silver lining here.
Yeah.
But it was a lot went on in between getting the deed, getting this guy out, renovating the property. But it took a while. It took 2.5 years.
So once you started the ejectment, how long did it take to actually remove?
I would say probably another year or so. It was about a 3-year process. I think he waved the white flag when the sheriffs were going to be out there one day, and I still gave him more time. Look,
Yeah.
with 3 kids in there, and he was going for a rough patch with his family, and I was like, you know what? I can wait another month or two. Not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. What's the average price of your rentals, would you say?
I would say rentals are probably $2,500 to $3,000 in Bucks County.
That's for like a 3-bedroom house, or?
That's probably for a 4-bedroom house.
Okay.
For like condos, 2 bedrooms are about $2,000 to $2,500.
Okay.
Believe it or not, some of the prices in Northeast Philadelphia are more expensive.
I was gonna say, yeah,
because there's bigger population, less inventory there. But during the pandemic, everybody wanted to live in Bucks County.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, New Yorkers, everyone.
Everybody, New Yorkers. If you recall, there was a lot of stuff going on in Philadelphia about riots, and a lot of the crime was pretty rampant. So a lot of people moved out to Lower Bucks County.
I'm all of a sudden getting a lot of people move back to Philly now.
I don't think people are moving back. I feel people are they're just not moving.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not moving. If you look at the inventory, nobody's moving.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's moving. I would say the last 2 months have been probably the slowest that I've seen in a good 4 or 5 years.
I agree.
Investment market, the sheriff sales are dry, nothing's selling, everything's getting stayed. Although there's probably twice as many investors at sheriff sales now, there's no inventory. There's nothing to buy.
So the sheriff's, I've never been to a sheriff's sale. Is it they're in person now in Bucks County, or?
In Bucks County, they're in person. In Montgomery County, they're online, and I think in Philadelphia, it's online.
Right. So if you go to the sheriff's sale, nobody buys it at a sheriff's sale, what typically happens to the property?
It goes back to the bank. The bank is the winning bidder. Like I said, the bank will sit on it for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
Either they put it on auction.com or one of those auction sites online, or give it to a local agent. But we're talking about another 6 months to a year, maybe longer.
Yeah, that's what just happened. So basically the bank got it back. The people that already like did an appraisal, like they paid for an appraisal, they paid for an inspection, they were ready to buy it in 2 weeks. The lender said it was like done, and they would have made, it was great. They would have made a good amount of money.
Right, but it's not their money. Whoever decided to let it go to foreclosure, it wasn't, they weren't thinking straight. They're probably thinking, well, we'll just take it back, package it in with other properties, other assets, sell it to somebody else at a discount, take it off our book. They don't care.
Yeah. So those are most of the questions I have for you. Do you have anything else you want to bring up or talk about?
No, I mean, I guess everybody knows about you. I don't really know too much about you. You're a realtor or a real estate agent. I don't know. I guess there's a difference these days.
I guess I'm both. I guess you're a realtor if you pay the association dues.
Right, right.
I'm both. Yeah, I was a lawyer. I told you that.
Okay.
I did most of the law work that I did in New York City though when I lived there, and told you I ended up not liking it. And I eventually got back to this area. I lived in Montgomery County, like Upper Dublin area, most of my life, and moved to the city a little over 2 years ago and sell real estate. I have a team of real estate agents and been through the market when it was the crazy years where things were just booming, and then it's changed over the last couple of years, but it's still going well, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
All right. So since you live in a city, so I do a lot of lending to builders in the city. I would say the section that's really hot now is Mantua.
Okay, yeah, kind of near the zoo. Yeah.
So I think it's close to Drexel area.
It's like, yeah, between Drexel and like the zoo, like in those areas.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going up, and I look at the lots that are coming up, and my clients that are building, usually multi-units there, triplexes, quads, and, some of them are 10 units. Things are getting rented in one day. It's a pretty hot area. I had no idea.
Yeah, I think when I first started real estate, that was one of my first sales ever was at this horrible house in Mantua that like it was like a hoarder house, like we were talking about before, and it got good money, and I was like shocked. And the person that bought it was like, "This area is going to be good soon," and I've been seeing it change also.
So think about this: when I started real estate, I would say 23 or 24 years ago, buying stuff in real estate and learning the market. The city had one up and coming neighborhood, and I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about. It's called Fishtown.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty hot for a long time. And, it's like no man's land. It was only like, I think where Piazza, that the whole area was like just fields of debris and buildings that were torn down 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It was just, and you can see 95 from 2nd Street because there's no buildings in between. And that was pretty hot for a while. But now the city has, I would say, 20 different sections that are, we have Brewertown has been pretty hot for the last 10 years. And now Graduate Hospital has been hot. I mean, all those neighborhoods, you heard those.
Yeah.
Or there are new names for certain neighborhoods. It's just new sections, and there's just so many opportunities. And every time I'm in a city, which is not a lot, I just see so much construction going on. It's just mind blowing.
I tell all my clients, like, when I was little, this area wasn't here, and all there was like the Rittenhouse Square area. There was South Street, but there was none of these other areas were much of anything. Yeah, so it's changed a lot.
I guess over 25 years, things will change.
Yeah, we have cell phones now.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will let you get back to your work. You sound busy, and I gotta go sell some houses. But thank you so much, and let everyone know like how they can get in touch with you if they ever want to.
Yeah. So you can certainly call our office. It's 215-942-2100, or you can go to our website, phillyesquire.com, PHILLY Esquire.com. I started that long time ago. Before I started practicing, I bought that website.
I was about to say that's a good one.
That I'm not really in Philly that much, but we're still using that website for my practice.
Yeah, I remember when everyone was just buying up domain names left and right and like storing them, and some of them worked out.
People thought a catchy domain would be cool and would bring more traffic, but now it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again so much, and look forward to speaking to you again.
All right. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. See ya.